I don't know if anyone else finds themselves complaining sometimes. I am not a big complainer now, but I have been in the past. And I mean, how do you define complaint, right? It's kind of just like the bitching, like something's wrong, I don't like something, end of conversation. And a couple of years ago, I started noticing I became more sensitive to hearing complaining in other people. And I would hear it and I would be like, whoa, and it would produce a very sensitive emotional reaction because I could also see those qualities myself. And I would hear somebody complain and it was just like the life had been taken out of me. Like just, whoa, whatever are we gonna do? I'm helpless now. I can't move forward, right? Something is wrong. Something is wrong. So in an effort to understand that a little bit and evolve it, because the complaint is there, something is wrong, and that's fine. There are problems, there are challenges, there are obstacles. So it's not a matter of teaching ourselves how to stop or not do it. I think it's a matter of saying, okay, the complaint is coming from a place, like a true place of like something not being correct. But the strategy of just putting it out there is like a bitch, just like, that's not a good strategy. So, in the past couple of years, I have wanted to evolve this for myself because with the complaint comes this sense of learned helplessness. It's like, oh, like I can't do anything to change it. And when you feel helpless, my mom felt very helpless. She was very sick for a long time and she felt very helpless. And I grew up watching somebody feel in a tremendous amount of helplessness about what was going on with her life. And it's like, whether or not I can do something about it, I already know I don't want to live like that. Like I already know I don't want to feel helpless. And so complaining is part of that. And where I've sort of come to now is when I feel that sense of something's wrong, there's a problem, there's a challenge. There's kind of two things that I do to evolve the complaint forward and move it forward into a productive place. And so one of those things is, the first thing I ask myself is, am I seeing the situation correctly? And you would be surprised, more often than not, the answer is no. No, I'm deluding myself about something. I'm only seeing part of the story, not the whole thing. I'm interpreting the story and I'm putting layers on top of the story that it hasn't been proven that this is how things are. And so why would I make these assumptions? And sometimes just asking that question will put an end to it, because when you ask yourself that question and you can learn to discern what is true and what is not true, because sometimes we just aren't able to discern it. We think that, yeah, this is the story. This is exactly how it was, because we haven't learned to peel back those layers and be like, oh no, wait, like I'm assuming this, like I think that this is what happened, but I don't have proof that it happened like this. And so when you get yourself oriented around that investigation, a lot of times your complaints and your problems just dissolve, because you realize that the problem that you thought you had, it was based on an interpretation you created in your head. And then it seems ridiculous because you're like, well, why would I put valuable, precious energy that I got from my food and that I worked really hard to get my food and turn it into energy, and now I'm spending that energy nurturing something that isn't true, and that's just sweeping my day, right? So sometimes the complaint will just dissolve there. But then sometimes you're like, no, man, like there's an injustice here. and I need to do something about this. Something is not right, something is not fair. And so then the second thing I do, once I think that I see the situation clearly, is I ask myself, okay, what kind of solutions might match this problem? Because I'm not interested in spending my time executing solutions that aren't going to solve the problem. And that happens a lot, right, in our lives. So I would rather spend my precious resources that I get from my food, that I work really hard so I can buy my food. I'd rather spend those resources on solutions that work. So this is why it's so important to ask yourself first, am I seeing the situation correctly? Because until I see it correctly, I'm not going to come up with a solution that matches it. And now, what solution will match? And that's just a hypothesis. It's just a guess. There's no pressure. It's just based on, sometimes it's just that gut instinct of like, let's try this. And then cool, now I go and I try it. I have something to do. I have something to act on. And the moment that I have something to act on is when it stops feeling like that bitchiness, that complaint, right? And I say start looking at this with yourself first before you start trying to teach others about it, right? But just see how this works out for you. Like, how much do you complain? Then ask yourself the two questions. Am I seeing this correctly? When you notice yourself complaining, that's the trick. You notice it. And don't forget about it, because you're not going to notice it for a while, right? It's like one time Ollie he was like, don't drive over these little potholes next to our driveway. And it never even crossed my mind to not drive over these potholes. I was just like, oh, whatever, like I'm just gonna drive over these potholes. And he's like, don't drive over these potholes. And so then the next day I back up, I go out of the driveway, choo-choo. Damn it, there's a pothole. The next day again, choo-choo. Come on, man, he's told you, don't go over the pothole. The next day, choo-choo. One of these days, I'm gonna not drive over that pothole. And then finally, on like the fourth or fifth day, right, is like when I come out and I'm like, hey, there's that pothole. Yep, you gotta go this way. Oh, boop, right? And so you kind of have to respect the time it takes to learn something and to get good at something, and don't expect too much of yourself right away. So when you notice yourself complaining, maybe that'll be 2 weeks from now. You notice it happening, you say, am I seeing this situation clearly? Maybe that even takes you a day just to think about like what? And then, okay, now that I feel like I see the situation clearly, now I can kind of find up a solution that matches. So what might a solution be that would match this? Now I have something to test, go hypothesize. And I don't know, my life is way calmer now, for sure. And I feel more confident and just I can do hard things and it doesn't freak me out, you know? Like, I feel like there are other times in my life where I was trying to avoid all of that. And now I can look hard work square in the face and just say, all right, let me roll up my sleeves. And I can't promise that I will succeed right away, but I'm here for it and I'm cool about it. So, hope this helps.